Did you know what it was? You just started. Here's how the food, now you know. Oh, no, it's all right.
Okay, I think we can start. And yes, you are starting, Miss Marie. It's your presentation now. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm going to. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, you have to put it on this. What's it called? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, hi everyone. I have been part of a project called Pandemic in the North, in the subarctic North, and I've been at Luleå Tekniska Universitet, where Maj-Britt Öhman has been a project leader. She will tell a bit more about the project, the methodology, and how we've been working later on. I've been focusing on Sámi Duojárat and the Sámi creative and culture industry or sector during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'm going to present some preliminary results of experiences, perspectives, and strategies. So we've been collecting data through lived experiences with interviews, semi-structured interviews with crafts, Sámi artists, craftspersons, and designers. We made 4 interviews, and we also made a survey in collaboration with Sámi Etnam. I'm going to talk a bit more about Sámi Etnam afterwards here. And we've also done some digital mining at social media research, debates and social mobilization and so on. A very important thing in this supradisciplinary study has been that it has relevance for the group. And Sámi Etnam, the national organization of Sámi Etnam, has been part in this project, and the request about collecting data from Sámi Duojárat has been from Sámi Etnam and also from Duojárat themselves. The close borders has affected, of course, because the Sámi people is a people of 4 countries. And also we know that the OECD made a report in 2019 about there being a very big knowledge gap about the development possibilities for the scarcely populated areas of Sweden, the Sámi culture and creative business lacking knowledge about amongst authorities and decision makers about this this business area, and it's having, it has a big and large development potential, and the focus especially in the north Swedish area is on large exploitation industries such as mining and watercraft and such. So this is a business area which is often missed. So there was a big need for this. About the national organization of Sámi Etnam, it was formed in 1945 in Sorsele and in 1945 in Jokkmokk. It is the oldest still existing organization, national organization for Sami, the Sami civil society. For Samis, it's been a big group of members, has been from the forest Sami area since in 1928, the Swedish state changed the reindeer herding, the law for reindeer herding, and therefore big groups of the Sami forest reindeer herding society were lost their rights. So the Sámi Etnam works to preserve and promote Sami cultural, social, legal, and economic rights in all Sweden. Sámi Etnam has been the funder of the Sámi Education Center, the Swedish Ájtte, the Swedish Mountain and Sámi Museum, the only magazine still existing in both Swedish and Sami, Samefolket, and also Sámi Duojárat, the Sami Crafts Foundation, together with SSR, the Swedish Reindeer Herding Association, which is also an old national organization in Sweden. And early on, Sámi Etnam had a handicraft committee, slöjdutskott, and this slöjdutskott, so the Sámi Duojárat has always been very, very important to Sámi Etnam, started the Sámi Education Center and also made the only handicraft report that has been made in Sweden on a national level with focus only on the Sámi Duojárat in 1989. Since then, there has been no report with main focus on the Sámi Duojárat with collecting data like a survey. And after this this report, the Swedish Parliament decided to put a funding to make in 1992 to make the Sámi Duojárat Foundation in 1993, which is a national organization for Sámi artist, craft, and also design. So there is a hindering structure for finding fundings, and also the way which upon the Sámi craft is looked upon. And it goes back to 1918, where the Swedish Craft Committee did a report where I'm sorry I haven't translated this, but here they describe the Sámi craft as very primitive and with no possibilities of development, because in 1918 the national movement in Sweden was very strong, and the craft, the sort of countryside craft were investigated as a business, a possible business with development possibilities for females to get an income. But the Sámi craft were considered not having this possibility for development, and it was so primitive that it wasn't to be considered a part of the Swedish craft movement. And I think not only I, but this committee's report from 1918 is still a hindrance to the Sámi Duojárat, the development of the Sámi creative sector. So the culture and creative sector, the Sámi one, is there is a growing interest for Sámi culture, food, and nature. It started out as a side income to reindeer herding, and it was possible to sell crafts, materials, and also serve food and do guiding for tourists. that came from south of Sweden, the upper middle class. There has been done lately, since the early 2000s, large investments in the north of Sweden in this sector. The tourist sector is the strongest growing industry, and it's called a base industry right now in Sweden, in North Sweden. It contributes to infrastructure and all year-round opening. For example, in Jokkmokk, it's possible to have 2 gasoline stations. It's possible to have 2 big supermarkets for food, and also other infrastructure due to tourism, where the Sámi Duojárat is a big factor. And the Sámi culture, of course, with Aite, and also the Sámi Duojárat Foundation, which has a shop in Jokkmokk. And also, as many people in our investigation witness of, it also makes it possible for locals to have culture experiences, because they can take part when events are arranged for tourism. Yeah. And in the culture and creative sector, I have to say this, we consider the Sámi, the ecotouristic Sámi culture-based tourism, and also the Sámi Duojárat, and also, of course, music and theater. So this is statistics from the tourist sector. It is a main contributor to people moving into, for example, Jokkmokk. Jokkmokk has been a focus area for us geographically. It is both an important side income for example, the Sámi byar, the Sámi villages, the Sámi economic organizations for reindeer herding. They are able to have as a side income, take care of tourist huts during summer in the mountain area, and where you can sell fish and you can sell food and stuff, and also provide lodging for tourists. It is, but it's also complicated because it puts pressure on the reindeer herding, and the tourists often, lack knowledge about how to move in the mountain area, and it's a disturbance to the reindeer herding. And also it puts a pressure economically on the north region of Sweden, which is covering a fourth of Swedish area, but only have 2.5% of population. So we have a very under-financed medical care. And many of these tourists, accidents happen, they get ill, and they have to be rescued and it's our tax money in North Sweden financing these medical cares, and with helicopters and to be rescued in the mountain area. And this is the 3 different big important tourist attraction: the 3 Hotel, and the Arctic Bath, which is in the same Harads and same place as the 3 Hotel, and also the Ice Hotel, which are big tourist magnets, and the Jokkmokk Winter Market. And the Jokkmokk Winter Market is extremely important in the Sámi society, because it's opportunity to sell your craft, expose your craft, but also to meet with family from other nations, other Samis. And also Jokkmokk has a population of 2,500 people normally, and in 3 days, in the first Thursday in February it starts, about between 30,000 and 50,000 people come to Jokkmokk. So it's very, very important. And many people, local people, Sámi people, provide lodging and can earn an important side income. And the Jokkmokk market has been cancelled 2 years in a row due to the pandemic. And this has had a big, big effect on the Sámi craft and culture area and tourist sector. So the Duodji is a cultural heritage, and we call it the smallest common determinator, that, you know, even if you don't know the language, you can always you can mark your Saminess through the Duodji, through, you know, carrying clothes or a bag. And it's something which is used for everyday use. It's sustainable. It has variations depending on which area you're from south. And within the South Sámi area, there are variations. The Central Sámi area, there are variations. And the North Sámi area, there are variations. And you divide the Duodji into hard and soft Duodji, where soft Duodji is often made by women, which is clothing, bags, and the hard, which is silver nowadays, and also wood and horn. It has been an important side income, but within the years, it has more and more become a branch of its own and a business of its own. And it's very important for the local economy. And as OECD stated, there is a big lack of knowledge through the importance. Many of the Duojárat has also connection to the reindeer herding. Our study shows that around 40% of those answering the survey has a connection to the reindeer herding also. And there is a conflict, of course. Arbeitettu, yeah, I'm not very good at Sámi, is like a traditional knowledge. It's like an inheritance amongst Sámi people, where it's both, it's like an individual carried collective knowledge of how to work with reindeers, or how to make Duodji, how to collect material for working with crafts and so on. And it has also the foundation of the Arbeitettu is sustainability and gratefulness for what the nature gives, and to reuse and remake and use the materials over and over again. But it is also an important business, and a growing business, and a business with potential. So, and there is always a conflict. I'm afraid I have not translated this, but it is one of the female crafts persons I interviewed. She talks about the conflict of calling the traditional knowledge, such as Duodji or reindeer herding, a business, because it's often used as an argument from the Swedish state and other people that there is no, you cannot earn money. It is not, that is not a sustainable business out of a sort of Swedish or Western perspective. But there is different ways to maintain a business. You don't need to have millions in profit. But the important thing is that you can keep it is a business, she says, because you can keep your family alive. You can support yourself. But on the same time, it is a cultural expression. It is a cultural heritage, but it is also a livelihood. And she means that you have to sort of look upon business and profit in a different way than we do today. We have there should be large scale companies. The Sámi craft, the Sámi Duojárat in Sweden is a bit looked down upon. And as we say, there's been since the 1918's handicraft report, it has been sort of looked down upon. We don't have any universities in Sweden, which they have in Norway, with the Sámi focus, but we have a lot of universities for other Swedish so-called handicraft. yeah, the only we have the Sámi Education Center, which is super important, and where Samis come from both Norway and especially Norway, but also Finland to go. But it's not a university level; it's a very practical school. And the financing we have like the Handicraft Foundation, the Swedish Handicraft Foundation. They get money directly from the Department of Culture in Sweden, and the Sámi Crafts Foundation get their money from the Swedish Craft organization, which is sort of shows a hierarchy and it's sort of a bit looked down upon. It's something which is not considered art, although it requires an enormous knowledge of traditions, of culture, of variations, of materials, and also art and color. You can see here some beautiful items. So the pandemic, this is a quotation from one of the female Sámi crafts persons in the survey. When COVID-19 started, it was like cutting a ribbon. Everything was quiet, no customers came, no orders. Baptism, weddings, birthdays, etc. Nothing. I just got frustrated. And yeah, we all know when the borders closed, because for the Swedish craftspeople, we have a big market in Norway, which is very, very important, where people have money to buy compared to Swedish population. So what the preliminary results shows, the isolation was a very, very big thing, that not only isolation from losing customers or income, but isolation from culture, from inspiration, from meeting other Samis. Our study also showed it was a big solidarity in between the tourism business and also the Sámi Duojárat. You helped each other. If you could get a job, you gave part of the income maybe, or you tried to divide the job between yourself and another person. But it also shows that there is a very big resilience in this Sámi branch, culture and creative sector, because although the incomes were very small and limited, no one said everyone was like, well, but it hasn't been too bad for me. I've been managing. And I think what we can see is that it's got to do with living a Sámi life. You are very used to adapt to some years. You have a big income, many reindeer, so many calves, and next year there is less, and you are prepared for that, and also prepared for not always having job. So you sort of you adapt to your income. And the positive side for many was they had time for their own craft and time for themselves to develop their companies, especially to the digital market. Several has started web shops also. Yeah, this is the social isolation. I believe that the pandemic affected the affiliation in Sápmi to a very large extent. Significantly fewer opportunities to dress up and show their identity have probably affected sales of dotje overall. Fewer or no courses have certainly reduced people's own handicraft as well. So this is the social isolation is the biggest thing for many dotjer. And before I end this, I'm just going to make a short about the support, economic support. In Norway, the state invests 130 million Norwegian crowns a year, and is for the Sámi culture sector, and in Sweden 17 million crowns per year. So there is a very big difference, and this is also something which many of the craftspeople are talking about. And one of those we interviewed, he doesn't work in Sweden anymore, although he's based. He works towards Norway all the time due to this. So you are welcome to ask questions afterwards. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation. I saw many overlaps with your presentation and connection to mine. And one of the things is, as you say, that since there are a kind of diverse income, they could balance it a bit more, doing more of the dodgy since they couldn't meet the tourists. So definitely there is something there. And I think also there is a good potential of doing more about the combining of tourism and more kind of what you can say live experiences and dodgy and for example also bringing in this co-creation concept that I am working on, that you not only buy it or look at it, but you can learn to do some of it and maybe make something yourself also, in a combination of buying the more professional things, but you can learn a little bit also. So there is definitely some interesting part of that. Actually the study trip that I went with Norwegian Sámi firm was to the area of Jokkmokk. So we visited the Tree Hotel and many Sámi companies. So it was, I think many are watching, looking to northern Sweden to learn. Many of the Norwegian Sámi experience companies look at Sweden to learn and how you can do these things. So it's good cases that you mentioned. So yeah, that was just a few remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, interesting. You didn't say your name and I cannot see anyone, so.
Dorte Eid, who presented earlier. So.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, but I agree that it is, and also due to the COVID, many people, especially the sort of upper middle class in Sweden, in Stockholm and so on, and also Europe, are searching the north, and it was a big increase in the sort of walking the mountain area tourism the first year of the pandemic, which is also a complication, of course, in the mountain area with problems with medical transportations and medical service and all these tourists coming, and also due to the risk of getting infected by people from the outside who feel very safe because it's so isolated and free up here. So there are many interesting things one can follow up on. It's yeah, thank you.
Another.
Yes, thank you. Very interesting to listen to you. And you mentioned this huge difference between Norway and Sweden in state support for the handicraft. And why is that? What explained this big difference?
If I knew, I don't know. I think I have this theory of my own, but I think it's got to do with with Sweden being much more of a colonizer and a national state, and being colonizing Norway also. I think, and also this sort of, it's tiresome to talk about sometimes, but the racial biology thing, which was like an institution in Sweden due to very large scale industrial exploitation of mining, forestry, which was Norway was later in this, but also due to the Alta thing that happened early on, and Norway having a smaller population, and also a total different politics when it comes to region and investing in regions. For example, that you can, if you after your university degree, you can work up north Norway. I don't know if you do that still, and sort of get rewarded for that. And
But
so on.
but you still believe that this, from the Swedish side, they are still looking down on this Sámi?
Yes, this is I've been working at the Sámi Duojárat, the foundation, for a few years, and also working with the Laponia process and Laponia Culturos, which is about the World Heritage of Laponia. And my experience is that it is still looked down upon, and you often meet this is my personal experience, so no scientific grounds, but that it is a bit looked down upon. It isn't considered being art, and it isn't considered being proper handicraft, and it is sort of a fun. I mean, if you keep a class at the university, is sort of something which is exotic, and yeah, I think we have a problem with structural racism towards Sámi. It's the same thing in the academic circle or in the government circle as professionals. There are very, very few open Sámis in Sweden.
It's very sad to hear that. I think to my knowledge is very much about lacking knowledge among people from the government and from the university system and stuff like that. And also considering the Swedish history, for instance, in the case of Kiruna and Hjalmar Lundbom, and how he really considered the Sámi handicraft and the Sámi slöjd and everything that was part of Kiruna from the very beginning. So
but he was also a big investor in the Swedish Racial Biology Institution. And also that you know this better than me probably, but also we talk about a I'm so bad at these, but a colonial gathering, sort of collecting that you buy, because it's very popular among the Swedish upper class and semi-upper class to collect the Sámi craft and so on, but it's still not really looked upon as the same way as the national crafts and art. So it's sad.
It's sad to hear that it's still possible to trace this kind of understanding of the Sámi culture. So that was just a reflection.
Yeah, thank you. Very interesting. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Okay, I think we have one more question, and we will continue with the program.
Thank you so much for your presentation. This is Christine, and I'm curious about the school in Jokkmokk, the Duojárat school, and how that was impacted during the pandemic, if it was closed or continued, and how is that school supported generally?
So what has happened, I don't know if it's due to the pandemic, but it is that they have a course for sort of soft doji, which is like textile doji and leather and skin, and they have had a lot of applicants for that this next year. But for the horn, antler and wood, they will not have a course next year due to too few applicants. And school financing, it is from government, but also it's a foundation. So the municipality pays a part, and they also have their own fundings. But that is also an interesting thing, because they chose to not be, which is like a how do you say, like a public that everyone can apply. Only Sámis can apply for the crafts courses. And due to that, the Swedish government doesn't finance as much as they should, because we are not allowed to discriminate because it's in Sweden it's considered discrimination if not all Swedish citizens or Nordic citizens are allowed to take these courses. And that is a conflict and a problem, because that's also a problem with a lot of plagiat. They make replicas and false sort of non-Sámis doing doji. So the fundings are less due to it being considered discrimination that not everyone can attend the crafts classes. I don't know if that's the answer to your question.
Thank you. I think we have to continue.